modus for the summer project, which I will have the honor to moderate. Something about my person. These 22 years of experience in the telecommunications sector were by Ericsson. So I'm a proud ex-Ericsson person. I actually still have my business cards in an Ericsson box. I cannot lift the hands of it. I was working in Ericsson Aachen until last summer, actually. I am an engineer, so I have technical background, C++, Java, Scrum developer. I was 8 years in the Scrum team. I was also in the quality department doing quality coordination, and then I joined the Agile transformation from Ericsson Aachen. 2011, we had our first event. We got 500 people all together for one day to talk about agility in Ericsson Aachen, so it was a very big thing where things start moving. And I was part of it. And within the last years, I was further involved also as a consultant for Ericsson for our customers. For example, I was last year at Deutsche Telekom doing an Agile consultancy for Kanban teams. And last summer, I've got an offer from Improvement 21, which I couldn't reject, and I became an Agile consultant. I'm also a speaker in several conferences. We're invited as speakers to talk about our experiences when coaching different companies. And that is very important to join these conferences, not only to speak, but that you hear what's happening. Like people ask, well, it's Agile something which is a hype or something else coming up? And then by joining all these conferences, you really get a flavor, okay, what's happening, what's going on? Is there something new? Are we on track? And these are some of our customers or people we have worked with within the last years. Right now, my business partner is working with Desigual and Allianz in Barcelona. So we work Europe and South America wide in English, Spanish, and German. It is not a Spanish company, but both business partners have Spanish nationality. So it is a mix of a mixture. And any information on my company, you can find it on the webpage, of course. We have consultancy services, we have trainings, we are licensed trainer for several courses. We have awareness talks like this one here, where I give some general explanations to companies. What is Agile? I say, okay, I'll try to put it in picture. And we also support Agile transformation projects, so those are our activities. We are licensed trainers for Management 3.0, which is the Agile management course, which is most famous right now or having more success. And by the way, he's from Holland, he's Dutch. And we are also SAFe trainers, a Scale Agile framework. So once you have a Scrum implemented and Kanban and you want to bring the whole company to an Agile structure, there are several possibilities. One of them is SAFe, and we are licensed trainers from SAFe. That's all about me and my company. I kept it short. So these are the vanity slides, what we call them. Now let's go to the business. You're here. We hear so much. Sorry, I'm a bit irritated because I keep putting myself in the picture. I try to stay here. Digital transformation, Agile transformation, Industry 4.0. There's so much going on about this. And some companies we try to coach, we arrive and they say, yeah, agility is the new hype, and in 2 years something else will come. And that's not the case. So I'm going to go 2 steps back and try to put it in a picture. So that is my goal for the next 45 minutes, to put the whole thing in a picture. Might be a bit of confusion. Actually, I have this picture now because I was at a customer where he mentioned, by the way, Almudena, don't create confusion. I said, I'm surely, definitely creating confusion. So in case there are some questions which arise and you don't want to interrupt, please use the parking lot. So it is a very important tool to make sure at the end that we have all the questions you are thinking about while I'm talking. That is now exactly 100 years ago. So that was the second industrial revolution, when we started manufacturing. Actually, Taylor was an engineer, so all this scientific management introduced by Taylor, by dividing the complexity of doing one thing in the simple parts, was the big success of the industrial revolution, which Henry Ford took over in his assembly line with the car production. That was very practical, to be honest. Looks horrible to us right now, but from the management point of view, that was the greatest which could happen. You were doing always the same products. You had absolute control over what was happening. You had no need from competence building. Yearly appraisal, 1 minute. How many things is he packing? 100 a day, good. Period. You had no competence building required. When trying to, you could sense the disposable talent. That means you could sense the people. If one was fired, you took the next one which was at the door. You didn't need to look for special profiles. Whoever could work in your factory. And there was always one person who knew it all, because he could predict. That's a very important word, which we're going to lose in a couple of minutes, predictability. How many boxes of bananas did we pack this week? 500. How many boxes of bananas did we pack last week? 500. How many boxes of bananas are we packed next week? I will suppose 500. So you have a predictability what was happening in your industry. So those were sort of nice times. We also have a captive market. What does it mean? You bought what was there. I grew up in Spain, and in the 70s, if you wanted a car, you bought a Seat. That was the car you bought, a bigger Seat or a smaller Seat. If you wanted a Mercedes, you had to bring it from Germany with huge taxes on it. My dad, until he died, he wanted to have a Mercedes and he never did. And he was a Geschäftsführer, he was CEO from a company, so he could have afforded to nowadays, but not at that time. We had captive markets. Seat was the car to buy in Spain. If you wanted to have, by the way, there is a comment from Drucker on this sentence, where he said, Henry Ford was not joking, he meant it. So when we talk about captive market, for example, we can also think of banks. In this last century, if you wanted to open a bank account, you went to the bank around the corner. The bank with more offices was the best bank. Nowadays, things are changing. It all started in the 60s, in the third industrial revolution. Computers joined, and then later on, internet. And there, things radically change. We are not doing the same products all the time. Any product we release is new. Customers are asking for completely different things all the time. There is a huge war for talent because you want very specific people, you want the best people. You don't have workers anymore, you don't have employees. You can have knowledge workers. So couldn't care about your hands, the most important thing is your brain. And by working remotely, and that's actually an organization in Holland doing great things about working remotely and presenting ways of collaboration remotely. So that's all these activities of remote work actually are being run in Holland. You can hire anybody all over the world to work for you. He doesn't even need to move. So the war for talent is huge. We have now global competitors. If you see the German Mittelstand, the 60% of the German economy is based on these middle-sized companies, which are distributed all over Germany. That's very special in Germany. Like if you go to Spain, all the industries in Barcelona and in Madrid. You know? And in Germany, the Mittelstand companies are distributed all over the country, but they sell globally. And that makes the difference. So you can sell all over the world. We don't have to go to the bank around the corner anymore. With 3 clicks, you can have an account in any bank worldwide. So that has strongly changed the rule of the game. You don't need to be the biggest one. Think of WhatsApp. When it was sold to Facebook, had 55 employees. And WhatsApp changed the way we communicate. When WhatsApp came in, completely destroyed our SMS market. All the projects run in SMS. And they had 55 employees when they were sold. They started with 2 people. And we don't have any more one person who knows it all. So once upon a time, if you didn't know, you asked your manager. Nowadays, your manager doesn't have all the answers. And there is not one single answer. So the decisions have to be decentralized. And all the employees are involved. So things have radically changed. Last but not least, uncertainty. We'll come back on this. So this is over. It was nice because it was simple, it was predictable. There was not much complexity into it. Now we are in agile organizations. There are a lot of articles. I will be giving you several links, which you can later on, when I give you the PDF, you can later on go to them. This is one which was published a few years ago. There are several ones of them, but I really like this one. I'm not going to read it for you. The first sentence is very important. We're all in the software business, and that is a radical change of Industry 4.0. Software is not just for some sectors. All sectors are involved in the software industry. I joined a conference 2 years ago. It was in Berlin about DevOps, and you had their telecommunication companies, you had their German railway, you had the German Post. You had companies from completely different sectors with years before will have never been in the same conference. So you had conference for telecommunications, conference for banks, conference for insurances. Now we are all meeting in the same conferences about agility, about DevOps, because they are facing the same problems. And that is a new aspect of the Industry 4.0. All sectors have the same problems. It's not about banks, it's not about insurance, but it's about IT industry. And we are actually coaching companies in a very wide variety of sectors, and they're all facing the same problems. How important software is getting, if you observe this publication in Forbes, it is planned by 2030 to have more than 50% of the money invested in cars is going to be software. So who cares about the wheels? Now it's all about software. And if you see which companies are supposed to be releasing cars, Google, Apple, and Uber, I mean, it is not exactly the ones you associate with car production. Right around the corner here in the mechanical engineers department in Aachen, I'm gonna have a seminar there next week in the VZL, it's called. They are producing, they have a spin-off, yeah, maybe you've heard about it, Ego. They are producing electrical cars at a better price than any of the automobile industry. So I'm completely impressed. I'm really glad they invited me to talk there, because it's really an incredible thing, and a spin-off university making cars, because it's about software. And there's even a proposal to regulate the big data the very same way in the 70s we were regulating the oil companies. They are so powerful, the companies owning the data, that they are talking about regulation and antitrust rules. So that is the scenario we have. After consulting, the Fortune 2015 has, Fortune magazine does once a year, makes a list of the 500 more powerful companies in the States by global revenue. I mean, who is making most money? Those are the most powerful. It's one way of measuring. And these 500 Fortune companies, they get, of course, some surveys. The CEOs get several surveys in several areas. And they were asked about their challenges. And the very first one is speed. Things are going very quick, and we have to keep up. Second one is cybersecurity. That's, of course, a very important one for us in the telecommunications. When we were implementing in the 90s GSM and SS7, nobody talked about security. And now any node coming into the networks, first thing is security features are implemented. This morning was a cyber attack at the German government institutions. It was coming in the radio. We never had this problem 20 years ago, so that is now a big issue. And regulations. Regulations is running everybody crazy because laws run behind innovation. Like, what do you do with an autonomous car? There is no regulation about this. Actually, it is forbidden. And I was talking to a lawyer about agility and innovation. He was saying, Almudena, we study, our laws are based on Roman law, which is 2,000 years old. How should be agile? So there we are facing a lot of problems. Most of the things we are trying to do, there are no law to cover it. Airbnb was running against regulations. Uber was running in several countries against regulation. So that is one of the biggest problems with our innovations. So that is gives a very good flavor of what's happening. After giving you all this picture, now I'm trying to go to the point. Why Agile? So is this the solution to face we talked about speed, we talk about complexity, we talk about uncertainty, we talk about decentralized decisions. So is Agile the silver bullet? Let's go back let's go 2 steps back, and if you keep one picture in mind, if tonight you go home and say, what was this girl telling us about, please keep this picture in your mind. because it's not an official one. It's one we have used in many presentations because it gives us some flavor. What are we talking about when we say Lean, Agile, Scrum, Kanban, XP? DevOps is missing there. You have more prescriptive. If you go up, this is more of a mindset or a philosophy, and then you go more into rules, methods, and tools the farther you go up. Because Scrum and Kanban are just methodologies, are tools. We could as well speak about a hammer and a screwdriver. So are fantastic tools, by the way. But the basis is somewhere else. And I like to have these awareness talks talking about Lean. Lean definition, that's already a problem. So there's a very good book from Niklas Modig, This is Lean. Actually it was in Ericsson several years ago. There was a program about this book. It was introduced in almost all sites. I don't know if here in Holland. And in Germany we bought 100 books so everybody could read it to increase flow efficiency. So it's, and this is one way he tried to find a definition for Lean. There are a few hundreds of them, and there are a few thousand books on Lean. Lean is already quite old. It started after the Second World War, in the way Toyota radically changed the way they were working after the war. They had no resources, they had no space, so their manufacturing, their production had to be adapted to the situation. And that's where Lean was born. 1988, in a publication from MIT, and there was one book which brought all this Toyota methodology into the European countries, and then it has been applied to production, very successful. But the understanding on Lean, it's not very similar all over the place, put it this way. Niklas Modig made some interviews in different companies to see what was the understanding of Lean, and what came out was this here. So I always say, please choose the one you like more. I couldn't care less. The important thing about Lean is the principles, and I'm gonna roughly go through them to give you a flavor what they are like, because they are the basis where agility, Scrum, and Kanban, and all other activities are based on. So there are 7 principles for Lean which have been expanded by the software influencers to 8. Mary Poppin, Dirk made an 8th one. Eliminate waste. There are 7 sort of waste in Lean. I'm not going to go through them now, but eliminate waste is just, any of you can do this. It's just getting rid of all these documents which are written and nobody reads, for example. That's waste. You run into situations like, why is this document here? Well, you know, the processes, we have to write it. Yeah, who wrote the process? Yeah, Peter. Where is Peter? He left the company. So you have leftovers from processes where nobody knows exactly why it's being done, but it's supposed to be done. That is one example I can think of, which we're started, right? I always say, please start there, get rid of whatever you know you don't need and nobody needs. That was my experience in quality coordination, writing quality reports, which I knew nobody was reading, but it had to be written, it was part of the process. Build quality in, that is a very important one, and is fundamental, which has been taken by agility. Quality first is about pairing. It's about zero trouble reports at customer. It's about, from the very first line of code you write, you have the quality in. I, for example, always preach about pair programming. Pair programming doesn't have to be programming, it can be pair working. But 4 I see more than 2. I mean, many things in agility you will surely see. It is common sense. So it's, we have invented the wheel a bit. If 2 people work together on the same thing, do pairing, you can secure the quality later, rather than somebody doing it and somebody reviewing it 2 weeks later. Did you review my code? Yeah, I'm gonna take a look. So, of course, continuous integration secures having as many trouble reports as possible later at the customer. So from the very first moment, secure the quality in what you're doing. Deliver as fast as possible. That is an important one, which is going to be taken over by the small cycles of feedback cycles. Make sure you're as fast as possible with your customer so you get feedback right away. And that's also going to be, we're going to find this principle in Kanban. One piece of flow is related to getting things done. It's not having multitasking. Actually, we all were proud of multitasking, doing many things at the same time. Wrong. Try to get one thing one thing done, and that's also where Kanban and Scrum works on, to make sure you get things finished. You are supposed to commit for user stories on a sprint, so you don't open many things at the same time. No, we have to finish this one here. So make sure one piece of flow, that you have things moving and not something in your board forever. What we have reached by introducing Scrum teams in many companies, we started doing Scrum teams in the development, and you had an impressive agility on one point in the process. So you had, instead of 6 months design, you have 2.5 months. Excellent. But the rest of the process was still as old or as low as it was before. So we super optimized one point of the process, and we didn't take a look at the whole. What Lean talks about is, please always look at your whole system. Of course, it's great to introduce some Scrum teams when you do software or whatever activities you guys are doing here, but make sure you are looking at the whole when optimizing, super optimizing. We have the best department. We get all our targets. We have the best quality. Yeah, okay, but you are a department in the whole business. No, is the whole business optimized? No, the others are still working as they used before. And that's the reason also why agility mostly gets started in some development or deployment departments and then expands further on. I always say agility is contagious. We have a talk on change management. We will be displaying how to expand through the whole organization. But the goal is to reach the organization, because there is no point of having the most agile department in Vodafoneziggo if the rest of the building doesn't have a clue what we're doing. This one is the Lean principle, which creates more confusion, because many people look at it like deferred commitment. Yeah, take the decision as late as possible. Again, Almudena? Yeah, whatever you can decide later, because there is so much uncertainty, leave the decision out. Huh? So we have a beautiful example from Henrik Knieber, a very, very good coach, which has done a great job in Spotify. That's the way we have worked for many years, no? Putting things together, and at the very end, our product was finished. No? Our projects used to be in Ericsson once upon a time 2 years long. If the customer wanted something in between, he got this, which wasn't much use. Even worse, if you wanted to change in here something, you had huge change requests. Say, oh my God, he wants now curly hair, but we already put some lack onto it. No, we cannot modify it anymore. So we couldn't change the decisions anymore at this point. This is a more agile approach, and that is what we mean when we say the refer decision. You can create a small piece, what is now called a minimal viable product in the Lean startup. You can create the first piece with a minimal functionality, but what color is going to be the hair? Here, I don't care. I don't care. It's not important. Now the customer can already say something about it. Say, no, wait, no, now that I see this, bring the hand down. Okay, we can still react. We can still modify it. But is it going to have earrings or not? The fair decision, we can decide that here. We don't need to decide here whether it has some earrings. So whatever decision about colors, about are we going to have some cows in the background? Doesn't matter here. We can decide here to put cows or not. So don't plan a big detail upfront product. Whatever you can decide later after you have customer feedback. It's best because we don't know everything up front. What the customer says here, after 2 years, he's probably changed his mind. This was the last Lean principle which was introduced by Bob and Dick. And Agile workers, you guys are the biggest asset of the company. Not the hardware, not the building, which by the way is beautiful. You guys are the biggest asset. I mean, it is proved. Motivated employees produce 20% more. Get your people on the boat and you will have excellent products. If you have frustrated people who are coming to work because they have to make money and actually would rather don't come, then you're getting nowhere. So really take care of your people. And the last Lean principle is Kaizen, continuous improvement. It will come a couple of times back. Kaizen is continuously improving. You are never good enough. It's not about getting to be good or perfect. It's about always improving. We come back on this one, we talk about agility. That was Lean in a peanut. It's not even in a nutshell. That was really a rough overview, that you see the basis. Now we go one step up, agility. This lady is the CEO from Banco Santander, one of the biggest banks in Spain. And last week, it was published in LinkedIn. She talks about the sprints. So I was really surprised to see what is the CEO of the biggest bank or one of the best banks in Spain talking about the sprints. So in so much detail on agility, I was surprised. I say, okay, agility is in everybody's mouth right now. And this has brought to a bit of chaos. So when you mention Agile, you have all these concepts flying around. And you do find people say, yeah, Agile is when you put everything full of posits on the wall. No? I started already. Say, yes, almost. So it is a lot of confusion flying around. There are 4 values and 12 principles for agility. I won't go into detail here because if you Google Agile Manifesto, you get about a few thousand pop-ups in Google, and actually very good information. There is a lot of wisdom on these values and on these principles. But still many people read them, say, yeah, great, Almudena, you're good, but what do I do with this? So me and my colleague has modified, actually this is a very good picture of my partner, Angel Medinilla, who, by the way, all the drawings are from him. I have to give him the credit because he's a much better drawing than me. We have put agility this way together. That's what we call the core of Agile, the basis. You are doing agility if you have continuous delivery of value incrementally, in small sets, like the second Mona Lisa. You do one piece and check, is that good enough? Next one, you can still react. So continuous delivery of value. Customer adaptation, get as close as possible to customer. Okay, we are in the telecommunications and we know there are hundreds of stakeholders. So who is the customer? There are so many projects where you're standing there, who is exactly here the customer? And you don't see the customer every day in the telecommunication. So you guys are actually working together, Ericsson and Vodafone, and that's really excellent. That is not the normal setup which we run into. So secure that everybody knows who is the customer and get as close as possible to him. In the telecommunications, he cannot pass by every day, like in other branches, but see how close can I get? Get high-performing teams. That means teams which work excellent together, which are autonomous, which are empowered, which are self-organized. If you have these teams, and of course, don't forget the person of the facilitator. You have these teams with good facilitation, you can reach a lot within your company. And the last part of the core is this continuous improvement. Experiment, innovate, and learn. Try and learn. Shall we do a Scrum or Kanban? I say, okay, start with Scrum. Try 3 months and then evaluate. No, didn't help us with the sprints. Okay, now try something else, try Kanban. Experiment and try how to improve. That is, from my point of view, or from our point of view, from Problem 21, the basis of Agile. Are you following these 4 boxes? You're working Agile. No, we don't do retrospectives, because we have no time. Say, okay, then you're not working Agile. You have posits on the wall. If you see, this is every year released by the tool version 1. Makes an interview with a few thousand developers and people working for IT industries. And we do follow it because it's a very valuable report. It comes out every year. And you see the reasons which many companies have for adopting Agile. To accelerate product delivery. So it's again about this speed, facing the speed we have in the industry. And we can change priorities, and it is very important when we have unpredictability and complexity. We have to be able to react to the left and to the right. So we planned 2 years projects once upon a time, like improving the SMSs in 2007. In the middle of the project, WhatsApp was born. No more point on progressing. You have to change the direction. You have to change the priorities. You have to do something else. And you can only do it if you're working in small increments. And I mean, the good things for you guys is that you're late. I mean, in this setup. Sorry to say it, but you're late. We have been doing already agility for 17 years, 18 years, we're 2018. Scrum is 22 years old. So this to be honest, nothing new. So you have really the values, and you have the proofs, and you have analysis, and you have surveys that prove that agility works, and also for big setups. This is the official Ericsson results presented in 2016 in the Scrum Days in Stuttgart by my colleague Henrik Kessa, who collaborates with the Agile Alliance. And he presented these values as Ericsson agility transformation results. So it works. That's the good news, that is proved. So much about agility. Now we shortly mention the methods and tools. Most beloved one is Scrum. I really like Scrum. I've been 8 years Scrum developer. I have very good experience with it. Scrum, it is sort of easy. We mostly introduce Scrum with 2 days courses, do some exercises that people get a feeling. You have roles defined, the Scrum Master, Product Owner, and team. You have your ceremonies, your retrospectives, the review, the planning. You have the artifacts like the backlog. So it is quite clear defined, and you define your sprint. You stick to the rules, and you have Scrum. Excellent tool, as long as you are aware that it's just a tool. So I ran a lot of times, actually last week I had a situation of company calling saying, yeah, we want you to support us, we want to be agile, we need Scrum. I said, okay, you want to work agile, I don't know if Scrum is what you need. Yes, we have heard everybody's doing Scrum, so we want to do Scrum, then we are agile. So, not really, just only by applying Scrum you don't solve all problems. No, so if you have a hammer, I say, what do you want to do it? Put some nails on the wall, perfect, you have the right tool. What do you want to do? Fry an omelette? No, that's the wrong tool, you need a pan. So always be critical when applying Scrum. Applying Scrum is a great way towards agility, but it's not, we are Scrum, we're Agile, it's not the case. What we did with the Scrum is agilize within the waterfall the development, or in your case would be the deployment. Within the complete waterfall process, we created some velocity on one point. And the problem we're facing is, even being very agile here, going into production still took 6 months. So we had shortened a bit in the middle, but was not really the solution. So what the next step, or the next natural step, is to agilize going into production. And not only just create working code in each interaction, but being able to put it right away. This is one-click philosophy. You have all the continuous integration, continuous deployment, continuous release. All this area is part of this DevOps. DevOps is nothing but development and operation. And we also have a talk about the collaboration of both parts. Tools is a huge issue here. Of course, there are many tools, Jenkins and Co, which can help you to put it in automation on it. But it's not only automation, it's about collaboration. And that is, as much as I will mention now DevOps, so you also have it in the picture, it's a natural step forward from agility. And we still have Kanban. It took me a while to be friends with Kanban. It really took me a while. Please sit down, don't stand. It's going to be a long morning, so take place. I didn't like Kanban at the beginning, because I thought, like Kanban is, Kanban roles, none. Kanban ceremonies, none. Kanban artifacts, none. So I was a bit suspicious about Kanban, saying it's a Scrum, you have some discipline, you have some rules to follow. Kanban was a bit, for me, like you just put some yellow post-its on the wall and that's it. So it took me a while to be friends with Kanban, and now I am certified Kanban coach, and I must say I very much love Kanban. I very much respect Kanban, because again, we're coming back to Henrik Kniever. He has, by the way, very good publications to download online on Scrum and Kanban, very easy to read. So something you can have evenings with a glass of wine and you get through it without a headache, if you keep by one glass of wine. But it has very good things, Scrum in the trenches, and a comparison of Scrum and Kanban, which is very good. And I really like this sentence because it's just inches from doing whatever. So Kanban is almost nothing, but it's incredibly powerful. So I could talk for a long time about Kanban. What Kanban has is only 3 principles. Visualize the flow. So we walk in a room and say, we're going to start working Kanban, and say, okay, put everything on the wall. Take yellow stickers, put everything on the wall that we visualize what's happening. Once you visualize, and that is the most important thing, and if you remember a second thing from this talk today, apart from the pyramid, work in progress limit for Kanban. That is the A and O, that is the basis from Kanban. That is, if you don't have a work in progress limit, you are not doing Kanban. Once you have everything on the wall and you put a work in progress limit, you have to optimize the lead time. How can we make the yellow stickers flow? How can we create a cadence? What can we create for delivery classes of services with Kanban? Then you start working and continuously improving. So I very much recommend Kanban if you have a lot of discipline. So if you really stick to this religiously. If you don't, Kanban can turn out to be a bunch of yellow stickers. I've run also many teams which were using Kanban because they just wanted to do whatever they wanted. So I said, we're doing Kanban, so we just, we have no release point, sprints are very strength. No, we finish when we finish. You have a stakeholder at the end who at some point wants to receive something. So if you don't use Scrum and you use Kanban, you have to define your own cadence. So Kanban is an excellent tool. Is this a bit more, I would say, complicated, or you need more discipline for it? Now, we have gone through Lean, we have gone through Agile, we have gone through Scrum, we have gone through Kanban, and we have mentioned DevOps. And we talked about the Industry 4.0. Any questions so far, by the way? I mean, you'll have the eyes open. I know the technique of sleeping with open eyes, but I think you are awake. I'm going to give you 6 points or 6 guidelines what me and my partner have put together out of all this bunch of information. When people say, where do we start? Say, okay guys, let's start somewhere. Accept uncertainty. Accept that we don't know what's going to happen. Accept that we don't know the complexity of what we're doing. And that is something very hard. We love dates. When is this project going to be finished? We don't know because this require my comment. No. When is this project going to be finished? No, because when is this project going to be finished? 19th of September 2020. Feels great. It's a fake, but we'll feel well because there's a date. We have something we can handle. There's this publication here regarding the Internet of Things. 2011, many companies, including Ericsson, announced we're going to have 2020 50 billion devices connected. And the other one said, no, it's going to be 30 billions. Another one said, no, 75 billions. And 1 year ago, there was an analysis, how far are we? It's only 3 years to go to 2020, what are these dates about? Even by now, 2018, and it's in 2 years, 2020, nobody knows how many billions of devices are going to be connected. And I really like that something like this is published openly, because we don't like to say that we don't have a clue. No company will say it aloud, and it was clearly black and white on the article. Nobody knows. No company could say, not even Cisco could say how many comes, because it depends on so many things. Even cattle is going to be connected. My goodness, how can we control cattle? So uncertainty is part of our daily business. We have to accept it. We have to face it. Delight your customer.
Sure.
I buy my sports shoes in a small village close to Aachen called Alstorf. I live very close to Declaton, but I travel with my kids Saturday morning across through Aachen, all the way to Alstorf, to this one sports shop there. Because I have the private number of the owner. I ask him, do you have shoes in these sizes? Yes, I do. He spends 45 minutes measuring my shoes, measuring the way electronically, the way I put my feet when I run, measuring the feet of my kids when they run electronically, looking for the best shoes for him. He really knows what he's doing, and he spends almost an hour with us, makes an excellent price. So twice a year, I travel all the way to Alstorf because of the customer service I personally received there. You go and say, I know Almudena, you will probably be handled beautifully. I could, with 3 clicks, get the same shoes in Amazon much quicker and cheaper. But I have a service there, which is so good that he delights me. Domino Pizza is doing incredible things to delight the customer. You can order a pizza just by pushing the emoticon of the pizza. And, okay, they have your data, of course, and your address. You can just send the emoticon of pizza to Domino Pizza and they deliver your pizza. That's, of course, for kids. Really fun. I want the pizza. They are also playing around with research vehicles for self-driving. They are experimenting what it is like for our customer, what's the customer experience of receiving the pizza in a car without a driver. Some old ladies might prefer this because there's not a guy they don't know ringing the bell, so the car just comes on their own, you open it with a code, and there's a small oven in the car, and your pizza is warm. And they are even delivering pizzas per drone in New Zealand. You can, anywhere in New Zealand, order a pizza, and it comes per drone. I mean, that is really delighting your customer. Any customer all over the world gets Domino Pizza in whichever way they want. And that's an incredible customer experience.
Deliver all the sites by drone, I think that's already out of it.
Pizza is also good.
Oh, company culture. Drucker says culture is a strategy for breakfast, and now we're saying culture is everything for breakfast. So the culture of your company dominates over whatever changes you are doing. Even if agility has won the game, and we all know there's nothing better nowadays at this point of time than agility to work, to face the actual challenges we have. This is the situation when introducing agility in a company, facing the culture. And this one's even 2013. This is from last year, and it got worse. I look at this report every year and I try to compare some factors, and it got even worse. So culture is one of the biggest problems facing to introduce agility, and when we talk about change management, that is a factor we really keep an eye on. What is the culture of the company? Nurture a culture of collaboration, of help. Take this is Torben Rick's iceberg. You can find it in the internet. I really like this guy because has really got it to the point. We have all this aspect of vision and strategy and structures of the company. Sounds excellent, but this is the reality. That is actually the things we say, and that is actually what happens. We have unwritten rules in the company. We have perceptions. We have shared assumptions. That is the things which are written nowhere and everybody knows. That is this tacit information, we call it. Like, for example, where's the printer and how you do use it? I wouldn't know how to do it, but you all know where the printer is. It's not documented anywhere. So there's information in a company always in the air. And what we communicates through the air, that is the osmotic communication. It's just there, and if you are present, you know it. And that is very important to consider for the culture. I like to take the example for Netflix. Netflix has this article in Forbes. They hire the best people. They have a very strong hiring policy. They want the best people. And once they hire them, say, okay, now you handle in Netflix interest. You go on vacation as much as you want, whenever you want. You have to travel to customer. Just go, give us the bill later. No asking for permission, no giving up somebody searching for the cheapest hotel. You handle in Netflix interest. And they completely trust their employees. I mean, they don't hire the very best ones, then to give them some orders and tell them how they have to handle. So it's one of the companies who has introduced unlimited vacation policy. It's very impressive if you read what they are doing. Look for collaborative models within your company. Collaboration, big question. Collaboration. Try to see how can we work together. Of course, we have the model of the cross-functional teams, where all these agility, different areas are covered. Try to get all sorts of skills under one roof. Cross-functional means you don't have a development team, a deployment team, an integration team. Try to get cross-functionality in your teams. Teams work is the basis of agility. As Jeff Bezos from Amazon said, I don't want an aircraft carrier. What I want is a bunch of speedboats, all running in the same direction. So it's about having a common goals, having a common vision. What are we heading for? And now all the speedboats do their job. So the wanted position for your teams This is from, there is a very good video online from Spotify about their engineering culture. It's really good, so take a look at it. But please don't come afterwards and say, I want to work like Spotify. Because many companies are watching these videos, it's 15 minutes, they watch and say, great, Almudena, I want to do the same thing. Okay. Guys, Spotify is a company with 3,000 employees, average age 28. You guys are 100,000, average age 50, so we cannot apply one-to-one. Actually, I had a company I was talking to last month, and they were saying, yes, we apply Spotify model. It's like, we don't have teams, we have squads. That's the name Spotify gives to the teams. I said, wow, you have squads. Okay, what else do you have from Spotify? Do you have visualization boards? Do you have war rooms? Do you have panels? No, we have everything in the computer. Apart from the name of the team, what else did you take from Spotify? No, so it is, now this Spotify model is a bit of hype. Even Spotify itself said, we are not a model. We didn't want to put a model, we were just showing the way we work. And it has really, it's very inspiring. And what it talks about is having teams with huge level of autonomy and high alignment between them. So everyone knows, it's like a ballet group and the choreography. Everyone knows their role. That's the way I always put it. And where the management only gives the vision. Say, guys, that's what we have to do, figure out how. So that's the collaborative model we proposed. Reduce the feedback cycle, that's probably the most important one. Reduce the feedback cycle as far as possible. As far as possible is because we're in the telecommunications. Here is the press release from last September from Ericsson. And we have managed here by continuous delivery to go from 6 to 12 months to monthly releases. That's already very good. Could it be even smaller? Probably. Try to reduce as far as possible the feedback cycle. And also put it into generalities reduced from 6 to 9 to 2 days, from 6 to 9 weeks to 2 days. That's also a huge reduction. Amazon is putting into production every 11 seconds, and that's for already 2013. But we are not Amazon, we are the telecommunications sector. So try to reduce the cycle as far as possible. Not only regarding customers, also with your employees. We have companies with this yearly appraisal or yearly survey. How are you doing? If last week you had salary rise, you are doing great. If last week there were some people being fired, you are doing terrible. There are tools which measure the daily feelings of which can measure daily how your company is doing, how your employees are doing. That is called Happy Force, and they are really doing great things. You can every day give your emoticon, and you have a feeling, how are things ongoing? Or maybe one writes, the air conditioning in our office is terrible, and 30 people say yes, yes, and then you say, oh, in that building seems to be a problem. We have to fix it now, and not wait to the yearly survey. Or last one, innovate, experiment, learn, try new things. That is something I'm very proud about because I introduced it in Ericsson Aachen. We created customer service for agility. We had a consultancy portfolio. I was for Ericsson giving talks. We're representing in international conference. We created, by the way, a meetup in Aachen, the Scrumptious, which runs once a month. That's something will be also very interesting for you, where all companies get together. And that was all moved as entrepreneurship within Ericsson Aachen. And I was involved in that. I was one of the ones driving it, so I'm very proud about it. You can also go to the webpage of Ericsson for self-driving cars. What Ericsson is doing into cars is really amazing. It's completely innovative, disruptive innovation for Ericsson, but it's good. Just trying completely different things. We're even working together with Netflix for autonomous cars. So if you are sitting in your car watching some Netflix video, it will be Ericsson the one which support you. So I'm very proud of Ericsson trying different things. And that's the way you have to see what can we try differently. And one beautiful example out of the communications, I was looking a lot into Domino Pizza studies. And you can create your own pizza menu and sell it. You can have Vodafoneziggo pizza menu, and people can order it, and the pizzas are just created for you, and Domino Pizza prepares and sell it for you. So you can create your department menu. You can create your own pizzas and they sell it for you. You get some part of the money and they take the rest. So there's a completely new business case which they have created, what I think is completely interesting. Last words, I'm a bit over the time, but the most famous question at that point is, Almudena, how long does Agile transformation take? And at this point, I have always to disappoint you. If you suppose you have like agility and time, and you have here 100% agility, and there's always this expectation, oh great, that sounds great, Almudena, we really like it. I think what we're gonna do is, we're gonna have a project for Agile transformation, you know, like we're gonna start setting up some teams, having some meetings, making sure we have budget, sending everybody to courses, hiring some facilitators, and then at some point, the delivery will be on the 30th of September, where I am. Didn't work so far. What we promote and what we have seen really succeeding in companies is nurturing agility. Start small. Start with some departments doing some agility, getting involved, getting curious like you guys are, you're still awake. Doing some courses, doing some open spaces, having discussions. Once a week, Agile Corner. Hey, I've read the book. Great, present it. Send people to conferences. There is one in Cologne in 2 weeks. There's so much going on in Holland. Hey, I was at the conference. I make a small summary. Great, present it to the department. Now, involve all managers. Agility goes like this. And at some point, you will get here, you will never be 100% agile. So it is more of getting there, and you can probably here say, we're agile. You cannot wait forever to say we're agile. But it is a process which nurtures and grows, and not something we can do overnight. In case you have any further questions, that's the way you can reach me. And now I'm open for whatever you might want. Thank you very much. Gracias.